Dear students, welcome back to the video lecture number 4 of module 3 water chemistry. In previous video lecture, we come to know the discussion on the concept of scale and sludge formation. So as you know that we discussed what is the meaning of scale and what is the meaning of sludge, causes for the scale and sludge formation, disadvantages of scale and sludge formation, and also we come to know the how to prevent the scale and sludge formation. So scale and sludge formation are the kind of boiler troubles which are causing damages to the boilers. Let us discuss now second boiler trouble, that is boiler corrosion. As you know that when you take the word of corrosion, we'll come to know in our mind that is what the rusting of iron. Why? Because iron is used in most of the industrial applications in the form of machines or the parts of machines. So because of the impurities present in the environment or in the water, so these materials or the industrial components are going to under corrosion. So as a result, there is the decay or loss of the material. So now this is the concept about the boiler corrosion, because you know that the boiler material is made up of the steel or the iron tank, and the parts of boiler components are being undergoing corrosion because of the impurities present in the water, maybe in the form of dissolved gaseous state or maybe in the form of dissolved salts. So how we can define a very simple meaning of the boiler corrosion? It is the decay of boiler material by its environment is simply known as boiler corrosion. In descriptive way, how can define the definition of boiler corrosion? It is the degradation or destruction of boiler material. I mean to say it is made up of iron. I repeat once again. It is a degradation or destruction of a boiler material due to chemical or electrochemical attack of dissolved gases or salts in water is simply called as the boiler corrosion. So as you know that because of the boiler corrosion, the parts of boiler material what can observe, they have been damaged or there is a formation of the holes. Because of the damage of the boiler parts or the hole formation, the efficiency of the boiler is what? Going to reduce. So let us discuss now what are the causes for the boiler corrosion. So boiler corrosions are due to the presence of these dissolved following impurities. The first one is by dissolved oxygen gas. Second one is by dissolved carbon dioxide gas. The third one is that is dissolved salts. So because of the presence of these form of these impurities, so the boiler gets undergoing corrosion. Let us discuss in detailed form about the boiler corrosion by taking the first impurity, that is what? The dissolved oxygen. Here, my dear students, oxygen is known to everyone. It is a precious compound for the survival of all the living organisms and animals, including plants also. So, the presence of dissolved oxygen is very much essential for the living organisms, including human beings. But the presence of the dissolved oxygen is not good for the boiler. I mean to say, the oxygen becomes the impurity for the destruction of boiler material if it contains more amount of dissolved oxygen. Now, the dissolved oxygen present in the water that causes the boiler corrosion. So because of what? When we take the boiler feed water, if it contains the sufficient amount of dissolved oxygen, when it is heated, that liberated gas, oxygen, makes the corrosion of the boiler material. So that is how we can explain it by the simple chemical reactions. Here you can see that the boiler material is made up of air. The presence of dissolved oxygen in boiler feed water, there is a formation of ferrous hydroxide. This ferrous hydroxide, in the presence of sufficient oxygen, leading to form the hydrated ferric oxide. This hydrated ferric oxide is called the rust. So once the rust is formed, you know that there is a loss of material, there is a formation of the hole or damages. This is how the dissolved oxygen makes the boiler corrosion of the boiler material, or it may boiler tank or the parts of the boiler. Now let us discuss how to prevent the boiler corrosion if water contains the dissolved oxygen. So dissolved oxygen, if it is present in the boiler feed water, it can be removed by using the two methods. The one is chemical method and second one is mechanical method. In mechanical method, we can remove the dissolved oxygen by the mechanical de-aeration technique. We'll discuss about mechanical de-aeration technique in later. Let us begin with first one is what? Chemical method. So beginning with chemical method. So dissolved oxygen present in the boiler feed water, when it is treated with the two important chemicals like sodium sulphite, or you can use the hydrazine chemicals, are added in the calculated amount to the boiler feed water, so that what we can prevent the boiler corrosion. So now consider here, if boiler feed water contains oxygen, when it is treated with the sodium sulphite compound, so sodium sulphite gets oxidized to form the sodium sulphite. So I mean to say here, oxygen combines with the compound of chemical sodium sulphite, leading to form the sodium sulphate. So thereby you are reducing the amount of oxygen in the boiler feed water. Now second chemical what we can use, that is called the hydrazine. So hydrazine formula is what? N2H4. So when you add this hydrazine chemical compound to the boiler feed water, this is undergoing oxidation, leading to release the nitrogen gas and the water. So therefore hydrazine is the best chemical compound or the ideal compound which is used for the removal of dissolved oxygen in water. So why? Because the products what you are able to get here, that is simply the nitrogen gas and the water, and the nitrogen is harmless to the environment, so there is no any damage to the environment by using the chemical like hydrazine in boiler feed water. That is what about the one of the important technique what we can use by the chemical method. Now second one what can use, that is what? The mechanical method. If water contains the dissolved oxygen, can be removed by the mechanical de-aeration technique. Here what you can see that de-aeration tower, so this is what used for the removal of any dissolved gases in the water. So when the water is fed into the tower of de-aerator from the top of the hopper, so that water is allowed to fall over the perforated hot plates which are heated by the heaters. So when the water comes in contact with the perforated hot plate, so heat, because of the heat present in the integral part of the tower, so what happens? The gas gets released. That gas gets released at low pressure, that can be removed by the vacuum pump which is present at the top of the tower, and from the bottom of the tower you can drain out that water which is free from the dissolved oxygen gas. So this mechanical de-aeration technique not only used for the removal of dissolved oxygen, it can be used any dissolved gases which are present that can be removed by this technique. Now this is what about the first, how we can remove the impurity if dissolved oxygen present in the water. Now second impurity we will discuss now, dissolved carbon dioxide gas. If your water contains or boiler feed water contains the dissolved carbon dioxide gas, so when it reacts at high temperature, so it leading to form the carbonic acid. So here this carbonic acid, what it does, because of lower pH, it will make the corrosion of the boiler parts. So how this carbon dioxide gas is released, that is what you must understand first. As you know that we are using the boiler feed water, if the water contains the calcium and magnesium dissolved salts in the form of bicarbonate nature, so if that water is heated at very high temperature, there is a formation of calcium carbonate, water and carbon dioxide gas. Here I have taken the two examples here. Calcium bicarbonate decomposed to give calcium carbonate, water plus carbon dioxide gas. If the water contains magnesium bicarbonate, so decomposed to give magnesium carbonate plus water and carbon dioxide gas. So this carbon dioxide gas combines with the water at high temperature, leading to form the carbonic acid. So because of that, boiler feed water gets corrosion by the dissolved carbon dioxide gas. If this is the reason for the corrosion by the carbon dioxide gas, then what are the ways how we can prevent the carbon dioxide gas which makes the trouble for the boiler? So next part what I am going to discuss now, removal of dissolved carbon dioxide in boiler feed water. The first one is, as we discussed about dissolved oxygen, similarly we can go for the chemical method for the removal of carbon dioxide gas. So if your water, boiler feed water contains dissolved carbon dioxide gas, that is removed by adding calculated amount of ammonium hydroxide. So when ammonium hydroxide is added to the carbon dioxide gas, there is a formation of ammonium carbonate and water. So but what happens, ammonium carbonate, it makes the adverse impact only once again for the salt concentration increases, which is causing some other problems to the boiler. Now second technique what I want to discuss now, mechanical de-aeration method, as I have discussed with the removal of dissolved oxygen. The same technique here also. The carbon dioxide gas along with oxygen can be removed by the mechanical de-aeration technique. Here water is allowed to flow through the tower from the top over the perforated hot plates maintained at very high temperature and at low pressure. So results the removal of dissolved carbon dioxide gas and oxygen. So thereby we can remove the dissolved gases from the boiler feed water. This is what about the second reason for the boiler corrosion. Now come to the third one, boiler corrosion, because of the presence of the dissolved salts. If the boiler feed water contains the dissolved salts like magnesium salts, so they are going to liberate the acids on hydrolysis. Let us see this example which is mentioned in the chemical reaction. Magnesium chloride reacts with water. There is a formation of magnesium hydroxide, release of hydrochloric acid. So this liberated acid reacts with the iron material of the boiler. There is a chain reaction is producing, so leading to cause the increase in the SL again and again. So boiler corrosion is what becoming very severe. Let us discuss this chemical process, how it is taking place with the boiler material. When if your water which is fed into the boiler feed water containing dissolved salts. So when the boiler feed, when iron comes in contact with the HCl released by the dissolved salts, conversion of iron to ferrous chloride by the liberation of hydrogen gas. This ferrous chloride further hydrolysis leading to form ferrous hydroxide and release of once again hydrochloric acid. So this ferrous hydroxide further oxidation giving the formation of a rust that is called hydrated ferric oxide. That is how the boiler material is undergoing corrosion by the dissolved salts. Thus the presence of even small amount of magnesium chloride can cause the corrosion of iron for the larger extent. Because of what? There is a liberation of hydrochloric acid which makes the more severe acidic condition for the decay of the boiler material, and iron gets undergoing faster rate of corrosion in acidic medium rather than the other media. Now, what are the way how we can remove the acids formed by the dissolved salts in the boiler feed water? So corrosion by the acid can be avoided by adding the alkali or ammonium hydroxide. Here I have taken the example of alkali. If boiler feed water contains acid like HCl, which is neutralized by the NaOH, there is formation of salt and water. Thereby the pH of the boiler feed water becomes neutral. So thereby we are avoiding the corrosion of the boiler feed water by the dissolved salts. Now moving to the next part of that, disadvantages of boiler corrosion. Because of boiler corrosion, we are going to lose the efficiency of the boiler. Second one is shorter boiler lifespan, leakages in joints and the rivets, then increased in cost of repairs and maintenance. So these are some important disadvantages by the boiler corrosion. With this, I will conclude the boiler trouble concept. Under this video, we have come to know that boiler corrosion by two important dissolved gases, dissolved oxygen and dissolved carbon dioxide, and its prevention. And also we have come to know how the dissolved salts are also making the boiler corrosion by the presence of magnesium salts. Thank you one and all.